What does it mean to be authentic? Historically, it means being true to yourself. The Greek root word of authentic is author, which is appropriate because, essentially, being authentic means being the author of your own life. When you describe someone as authentic, you most likely admire them for it.
I know she's a little odd, but she's the best manager I've ever had.
I like her because she keeps everything real.
You can trust her. She's a straight shooter.
When someone lacks authenticity, you probably feel the opposite.
He really threw me under the bus on that one. I'll never trust him again.
Watch out for him. He's two-faced.
Yeah, I never know what he's going to do next. Whichever way the wind blows.
So how do you become more authentic? The tempting answer is something simple like, always tell the truth. But real life is more complicated than that. What happens when telling the truth runs counter to your own morals, values, and obligations? What happens when your morals collide with the realities of business? Is it even possible to be authentic and effective at the same time? In her book, The Art of Authenticity, Dr. Karissa Thacker shows that not only can you be authentic and effective in your work, but that living in an authentic way is imperative to having a successful career in the 21st century.
Being authentic is about being true to yourself. And often we tend to think of it as this simple thing like, oh, I'm going to be true to myself, I'll just do whatever I think or feel today. Well, that's not going to get you very far in modern organizations. So if we step back and we think about being true to yourself in a broader sense, it's about being true to yourself and your higher values and being your best self as opposed to simply letting it all hang out, as sometimes we get lazy when we think about being authentic.
The Art of Authenticity is the result of Karissa's 2 decades spent as a highly successful management consultant for over 200 of the world's most successful companies and organizations. The 21st century workplace no longer rewards conformity and blending in at any level. Advances in communication have resulted in flatter organizations without a lot of middle managers. Thanks to globalization and the accelerating pace of technology, organizations that don't innovate can go from the literal best of the best to being on life support almost overnight. In order to thrive as a leader, you will have to stand out and embrace your authenticity. Dr. Thacker believes the key to standing out in this environment is by making what she calls signature contributions every day of your work life. Imagine if you missed a day of work or a month. What would be missed? What would go wrong? These unique, irreplaceable elements are your signature contributions. Karissa has identified 4 main behaviors that are key to making signature contributions as a leader. The first is, celebrate your quirks. A quirk is a peculiarity in action, behavior, or personality. Quirks pique people's interest and help them realize you're more complicated than originally thought. People who are authentic are willing to rebel against conformity and embrace themselves as they are. Next is experiment constantly. Developing yourself as an authentic leader requires treating your work life as a laboratory and constantly experimenting with new behaviors.
I love the term experiment because an experiment doesn't mean it's set in stone. It doesn't mean you know exactly what's going to happen. And that is the rule of the game in the workplace today. You do not know exactly how anything is going to happen.
These experiments can be anything from talking during meetings when you would usually stay quiet, or even just switching up your usual lunch group to gain new insights. We also need to learn to embrace weakness. Yes, I know that most current talent development strategies place their focus on strength development. But Dr. Thacker says that being authentic and making a signature contribution requires being aware of and even highlighting your weaknesses. Most importantly, acknowledging a weakness enables an authentic leader to surround themselves with people whose talents make up for their own deficits. Finally, it's important to find meaning in your work. Research has shown that people who are clear about a higher purpose in their work are more satisfied, engaged, and willing to go the extra mile. This means paying attention to yourself and noticing when you feel emotions that connect with your values and character strengths.
Everybody that you meet, regardless of how cynical they may seem on the surface, is seeking meaning in his or her life and in their work. We all have our bad days, but the reality of the human condition is that we all want to have meaning in our work. It's part of the wiring in our brains.
So, remember the 4 elements of signature contributions. First, celebrate your quirks and don't hide them. Then, constantly experiment and test new behaviors. Next, embrace your weaknesses and find team members to help support these gaps. And finally, find meaning in the work you do that complements your interests and convictions. By practicing and cultivating these basic principles from Karissa Thacker, you'll be leveraging your signature contributions and building a stronger foundation for a more authentic you.